All right, friends, here we are again at another training session. Today, it's all about tape. We've got gaffer's tape. We've got duct tape, our two favorite kinds of tapes here. But I'll be honest, this guy only gets used very infrequently. So basically, the easiest way to think about it is gaffer's tape is going to be used on all surfaces except for stone. So basically, duct tape, we're only going to be using you for cement, for pavement, for brick, anything that is outdoor stone. We can use this. It holds a little bit stronger, and it's actually kind of necessary in those circumstances. All other places, such as carpet, painted surfaces, wood, even finished wood, gaffer's tape is the way we're going to want to go, because honestly, duct tape can damage and could permanently damage all those surfaces. So we're going to be utilizing all those types of surfaces today. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to set down the duct tape. Thank you, but we're not gonna need you right now. Here we go, guys. We're gonna go through just a couple different scenarios, probably the ones that I find most often on events, and how to properly tape them in a way that is safe. That's the most important thing. We have to create a safe environment. B is clean. So those two things, we wanna make it safe, clean, and then I guess hand in hand with clean is really just aesthetically pleasing. So the key is going to be to run those cables in a way that is just low profile so that people aren't tripping and so that it's not standing out as an eyesore. So let's start out first, folks, on this back wall. There are no thresholds here, it's just one sleek wall. The goal here is to get this cable to be as close and tight to that corner as possible. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do what I like to call tacking. And what tacking is using just maybe 2-inch long pieces of tape and going once every 10 to 20 feet with this piece of tape along the length of the area that you're trying to hit up. There are some times if the cable is laying right and the wall, I guess, is shaped in a perfect way, if it's just sitting naturally on its own, I hardly tape it at all because, to be honest, every time you throw down one of these tacks, again, talking about aesthetics, you see this little black mark right there, and it kind of takes away from the whole look and the ambiance of this. So again, to be honest, this is about, an 8-foot length here. And to be honest, if this were a situation in a venue, I probably wouldn't even put this tack right here because it's holding pretty tight as it is being secured down there and in this corner. But just for the purpose of this video, I wanted to show you how to tack with a small piece of tape once every 10 to 20 feet. Right, moving on. So over into this next portion, I want to show you all something that I've learned over the years is how to handle corners. So whenever you have a corner that you're wrapping around, you can kind of just use the tension of the cable going around the corner. You don't really need to have a piece of tape there at all. So you just kind of hold that there, and as long as you're secured tightly down on the other end and you form another secure spot here, then it will go ahead and hold very tight on its own. Now, here's where this took me a while to figure out. I'll be honest, whenever I first started taping, I would just put like a piece of tape here and a piece of tape there. But then I started realizing after doing enough corners that the best way to do it is to kind of round your cable through that corner. So it's almost like splitting the corner, if you can imagine that. You're gonna wanna hold both sides like that with your hand, then take a nice square piece of gaffer's tape and line it up and put it sort of right in there. I'm gonna try and do my best here. So that the top part of that gaffer's tape lines up with that side of the wall and the side lines with that side of the wall. And boom, you put it in there like a puzzle piece. Voila. It's just like it's meant to be there. And that way you're applying pressure so that it sends the cable in that direction nice and tight to the wall, and it receives it nice and tight on this wall in that direction. That, when I discovered that, was like one of the happiest days of my life. Anyways, moving forward, we're gonna jump to arguably the most important style of taping, cabling, and it's over a threshold. Thresholds, that's where people are going to be walking back and forth, egress and entrance, and so that's where you're going to want to be very, very safe. I've brought 3 different types of cables here. to show you what I would choose for a taping scenario here. Skinniest of our cables is our XLR, our DMX. I'll be honest, if there were just one DMX cable running across this threshold, I would probably choose to just do one strip of tape. Now, if there's anything more than that, so say there's an XLR, DMX, and an IEC, we're definitely gonna wanna go 2 strips of tape. And likewise, if there was power, which is just a little bit thicker, we're gonna wanna play it on the safe side, and we're gonna wanna go with 2 strips of tape. So let's go ahead, let's actually make this a little bit more challenging for me. I'm gonna go ahead and do 2 cables. So we're gonna do this XLR cable, and we'll also do our IEC cable side by side. Now, I'll always try and do the thickest cable closest to the threshold. I've chosen to go on this side of the threshold because there's a little bit of a dip, a space in between this threshold and the actual linoleum floor that creates sort of like more of a smoother runoff, whereas if I were to go here, it kind of bulges up a little bit more on the carpet side. So I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna put both of these side by side, get them as close to how I want them to be as possible. And then I'm gonna take a tack, just like we had on the other wall, and we're gonna start as tight as we can down here with just a nice, solid, and clean tack, right? So that sort of holds it in place for you. That way you can free up your other hands, and then you're going to now pull these cables as tight and as close to that threshold as possible, and we'll do the same thing down here. We'll throw that tack down to make it nice and solid. This in itself is pretty nice. It looks clean, it looks safe, but it really isn't if you think about it. People could still tuck this up, and over the course of a 4-hour event, this could come loose, and you could, next thing you know, you could have people tripping and falling. You do not want that. So we're gonna seal the deal here with a solid strip. I'm gonna go, since I've decided to go 2 strips, I'm gonna start here right in the middle of the tack, and I'm gonna run it along right the middle of this cable run. So there are 2 cables, so it makes it pretty easy. I'm just gonna go right in between the 2 cables, and then I'll finish that off, and I'll go make it nice and smooth here against the ground. And then we're gonna do the same exact thing, being sure to overlap. We don't wanna have like an opening there, so we want to overlap basically the same length, and then overlap on that side, and go ahead and make it smooth. Now you are solid, you are clean. Anyone who's walking over top of this, they're never even gonna notice that there's cables there. So that's how we do a threshold, folks. And that's how we tape cleanly, safely, and aesthetically pleasing. Hopefully this helps on your next event.